All right, fellas, what's going on? Denonu here, the man with black privilege. And we're going to continue on talking about Luke Cage. We're going to talk about story, the main characters, and basically how I think that they can make the story a little bit better than what they did. Characters. You have a lot of different main characters in this. A lot of them were good. Some of them were bad, at least in my eyes. Start off with, you had Luke Cage. Luke Cage, given this part in his story, what I thought they were going to do was basically tell his origin story. And they get into that later. But I thought this was all going to be about his origin and how he, let's say, got to New York and met Jessica Jones and all that. That's what I thought it was going to be. And that's not what this is. This pretty much takes place after Jessica Jones and all the stuff that happened in that. And it's basically where he's at now. And then later on in the series, it jumps back into his origin and shows you how he got his powers and stuff like that. And then it brings in another person or threat later on in the latter part of the series. And that's where, you know, they ended at. But basically, you have Luke Cage and you have Cottonmouth. Luke Cage in the beginning of the series is staying at this barbershop, which I thought was a really great idea, because as a barbershop in black culture is, how would I describe it? It's kind of like a meeting place, common ground, community area, whatever you want to call it. That's why you see it in so many movies, like Barbershop, the movie. That's why it's in there. Coming to America. That's why it's in there. It's a part of black culture, and it's, you know, if you grew up in an inner city environment, you can relate to it some kind of way. I know I do. I grew up in Baltimore until I went to, let's say, middle school, and not middle school. I'm sorry, high school, and then I moved out to a suburb type area with a mix of different cultures. So I understand the urban environment. I don't particularly love it, but I kind of hate it, but I can understand it. You also have a character called Pops who runs this barbershop. He's kind of like the pseudo father figure that Luke Cage has. And they get into a beef with this guy called Cottonmouth. And basically what happens is local kids who frequent this barbershop and work there, they rob Cottonmouth and steal some of his money. So in retaliation, he goes and finds the kids who did it and kills them. During the process, Pops gets killed, and Pops is kind of like Luke Cage's, at the moment, pseudo father figure. They're always talking about black culture. They're always talking about black books and stuff like that, black characters and books. Problems with the black community. They have a lot of commentary back and forth between them about being black in America for the most part. And Pops gets killed. Luke Cage gets pissed. He goes after Cottonmouth and, you know, all of that. A lot of things happen in between. I'm not going to get too specific as far as the story. But later, a few episodes in, one thing that kind of sort of surprised me, because I thought Cottonmouth was going to be, let's say, like, okay, he's going to be Luke Cage's kingpin, like Daredevil, right? But no, that wasn't the case. About like episode 6 or 7, Cottonmouth dies. And then it brings in this guy called Diamondback. And Diamondback in the comic books, he was, for lack of a better word, how Cottonmouth is in this, that's how Diamondback was in the comic books. He was Luke Cage's, you know, former friend turned enemy, you know, and he was the guy running shit. Whereas in this, Diamondback is more of a, they made him into Luke Cage's brother. I don't think that was the case in the comic books. I could be wrong. I mean, I haven't read Luke Cage's origin in like since God knows how long, but I don't recall him being Luke Cage's brother. And they kind of sort of slide him in as if like, and what I was saying in the last video that I made, it's such a distinctive split as far as what happens. Like, it would make more sense if, let's say, Cottonmouth had his whole thing going on and he was losing his business and Diamondback came in here, killed him and was like, look, now I'm running shit. But no, that's not how it is. That's not how it takes place. Cottonmouth gets killed by somebody else, and then it's like Diamondback just comes in there as how would I describe it? He's like he comes in there like he's like the maniac Joker-esque character, where I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna do anything I want, kind of sort of thing. I'm not comparing him to the Joker. I'm just saying it's that kind of thing where it's, I don't care who's running shit. I'm just gonna come in here and they don't like it, I'm gonna kill them. You know, he's that kind of sort of a mindset person. He just kind of comes in there, and they give him a beef with Luke Cage. I'll get into that a little bit later. And that's why he wants to kill Luke Cage, and he's taking over the gangs that, you know, that Cottonmouth was working with, trying to build up his status. And at all at the same time, he's trying to take out Luke Cage because he has these special bullets that he was able to get a hold of. Basically, Hammer Industries, they developed a type of explosive bullet that derives from the metal that the Chitauri had when they came down in the Avengers. They took some of the metal from some of the aliens and stuff like that and made basically armor-piercing explosive rounds. That's pretty much what they made. And they can shoot Luke Cage and actually pierce into his body and explode, so that the shrapnel stays in there. And they dive into trying to save him later. And it's such a, like I said, it's such a decisive split between Cottonmouth, who was the main bad guy, the villain of the show, and then you introduce Diamondback, and it's such a, I know this is the third time I'm saying this, but it's such a huge split between the story. It almost feels just disjointed. It feels like I don't know the guy's name who played Cottonmouth, but it feels like they only contracted him for 7 episodes, and then once that ran up, they killed him, and then they just brought in somebody else. You know, it would have been better if, like I said, if Diamondback just straight up killed him and took his spot. Or why didn't they just make Diamondback take Cottonmouth's place in the story? Why have Cottonmouth in there if you're gonna have Diamondback? Why not do it just like how in the comic book, where Diamondback was just the guy, you know, he could be Cottonmouth in the story, and then just have him running shit, and then have Pops get killed, and have it be an ongoing thing. But you have one focal bad guy. That's what I'm trying to, you know, get across as my point. When you have one bad guy, you can tell your story and focus on that one bad guy and keep him in a certain place. By them having, like, Luke Cage, let's say, has 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 if you count the police. You have 5 different bad guys or pseudo bad guys that are going against your main hero, and none of them really matter besides 2. So why not just tell a story with you have 2 main bad guys? Like I said, Cottonmouth gets killed, and the person who kills him is his sister. So you now her sister is, or his, not his sister, I'm sorry, his cousin is a political type figure, and her part of the storyline, I wish they'd have just dropped her whole entire character. That was another weak part in the story to me. Her character was fucking stupid, honestly. Like, in the first part, Diamondback's not Diamondback, Cottonmouth's thing is, Cottonmouth is a street level gangster who is trying to launder his money and trying to move up in the gangster world that's left behind past the Kingpin, because this takes place after Daredevil as well. And he gives his money to his sister. Damn, I said sister again. His cousin. Might as well have been his damn sister. But he gives his money to his cousin, and she launders his money through her new, she's trying to run for mayor or run for some type of political office. So she's trying to focus on being on, like, the political front person for this new apartment complex that she's gonna build. And she doesn't like the street life. She wants that white people corporate, you know, criminal money. That's what she's after. And they basically came from an old school black family who used to run their little area in Harlem. And they were both raised like 2 separate ways, and that's why they're both, you know, fucked up in the head, because of how they were raised with their parents. since their parents were like gangster heads in their own right, you know. And she kills him like 6 to 7 episodes in, and you have Diamondback's henchman or person or whatever who he sent to work with Cottonmouth. I think it's his I think they said he was Puerto Rican, but he was the one white guy you see in the show. His name was Shades, and he was another character I thought that they were gonna do something with, like at the end, but they never did. They never did anything with his character. The only thing he did, he was like the scheming character who would go behind your back and talk to this person and that person, but they never did anything with his character moving forward at, you know, at the end of the series. Basically what happens is when Cottonmouth gets killed by his cousin, she kills him in a fit of rage. And then Shades comes in and be like, you know what, just tell the police Luke Cage did it. And then they kind of frame Luke Cage for Cottonmouth's murder, and they basically try to do their own thing until Diamondback comes into play. And then Shades gets bumped back down to being Diamondback's bitch. And he becomes he moves from one hench person to another, like, and he never tried to kill Diamondback. It was like Diamondback tried to kill him later on, but it's like you would think that they would do something with his character, like have him try to fight Diamondback or something, you know, but no, they never did. It's like he just tried to scheme, he got caught at scheming, Diamondback tried to kill him, and then at the end of the series he got arrested. You know, it was like, wait, did he get arrested? I think he did. I think he got arrested at the end. But it's like he schemes with Cottonmouth's cousin, but they don't ever do anything. That whole apartment complex scheme that they had that she had going on doesn't really go anywhere. You know, it's like her whole character after Cottonmouth dies is pretty much, oh, I'm just gonna get the police to be on Luke Cage. I'm gonna lie on Luke Cage. I'm gonna say he killed him. You know, it's like that's the whole thing. It's like her whole thing is trying to hold on to what she had after she killed her cousin. I can understand how that could be a story, but it seems very weak. It seemed like a very weak plot point in my eyes. Again, Diamondback's history with Luke Cage, being his brother, and he hates Luke Cage because it's really misguided anger. Like, he hates Luke Cage because Luke Cage's dad never acknowledged him when they were growing up. He always treated him like shit. And it turns out that he hated him because Luke Cage's dad like slept with his secretary. He was like a preacher who slept with his secretary. And then I guess she got pregnant and had him. And then so he always looked at Diamondback as like, oh, you're not my son. I fucking hate you. You know, he seen him in that mind, in that kind of mindset, so that's why he hated him. Somehow that translated into him hating Luke Cage because, oh, he never treated you like that. Except when he did, when Luke Cage got locked up by his dad being a preacher. And this is something else that also reminded me about my dad. And like I said, there was like several moments in the series where that reminded me about my dad was that Luke Cage says that his dad did everything he could to make sure his son didn't go to prison. And then Luke Cage got locked up. Even though he was innocent, his dad wasn't trying to hear none of that. He was like, he basically disowned him when he got locked up. And so again, he treated Luke Cage like shit after he got locked up. Never talked to him since. It was one of those kind of situations. And you have Diamondback who's like, oh, I want to kill you because I'm mad that he never treated you like that, but he did. So it's like, the problem with Diamondback is, like I said, he should have been Cottonmouth and had that whole thing play out, because that's how the comic book was. And I'm not saying that, oh, it has to be just like the comic book. That's not why I'm saying it. But it tells a cohesive story. If he would have been Cottonmouth, or let's say took Cottonmouth's place, I don't want to say that he should be Cottonmouth, but it makes a better sense story-wise, because now Luke Cage has like a reason to go after him. Whereas in this, it was like the only reason Luke Cage had to go after him is because he killed him. And then let's say later on you find out that they are brothers, and then that kind of makes it even more personal. Whereas this, it's kind of like for like 7 episodes, it was, oh, I'm gonna get mad at Cottonmouth, and then all that Cottonmouth stuff just dies. And now it's Diamondback who's gonna come in here, and now I got this beef against you, and it's like, hold on, where were you at in the first 7 episodes? You were just some guy that they mentioned a couple times. You know, they didn't even show him. I mean, it would be different if, like, let's say, like, as they were mentioning him, they showed him plotting and scheming, like, oh man, if he messes up with this thing, I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna take over everything he has. They should have did something like that, had him been like, you know, the guy behind the mask or the guy behind the camera, you know what I'm saying? The one guy you don't see until he moves in there. But I think that they played it out and they just didn't do it. They could have did it better is what I'm trying to say. By them doing it the way that they did, it heavily splits the story. And I feel as though after Cottonmouth gets killed, the story more so becomes about Luke Cage versus the police. And and that's what I said. Diamondback's portion in the story is incredibly weak. It's Luke Cage against the police is a whole lot bigger than Luke Cage versus Diamondback. I mean, yeah, he beats him at the end, and I'll get into talking about that a little bit later. But it's like I wish that they'd have made it a little bit different and made it better and made it a all-encompassing story. Like, what I'm trying to say is, you know, I'm sorry for rambling and but it's hard trying to vocalize my thoughts and what I'm trying to say on it is that Luke Cage should have been like Jessica Jones. And what I mean by that is, in Jessica Jones, you didn't have 2 bad guys. You had 1 bad guy. You had the Purple Man. Yeah, he did a lot of stuff in the beginning and you know, during the first half of the series, and even more stuff at the end. But he was the overarching threat the whole time. In Luke Cage, that's not the case. You have Cottonmouth, and then you have Diamondback, and then you have Shades and Cottonmouth's cousin. And like I said, and police / authority, whatever you want to, you want to wrap that up in 1, 2. So you had all of that. So it felt fragmented, is what I'm trying to say. It was kind of like, I'm not comparing it. I'm not saying it's going to be as bad, but it's the same situation that you had in Justice League, the movie, where you had a lot of different story points in it. And by them having all that, everything was fragmented. You never got the well-tuned story that they were trying to tell because they kept jumping around so much. By them having more characters in Luke Cage, it's kind of like the same thing. You can follow it a hell of a lot better than you can in, Justice League. So that's why I'm not comparing it to that, but I'm just saying it's a similar thing storytelling wise. They should have trimmed down the story a little bit and told it a little bit better. And I think they would have been better for it. What I will say this though, the whole Diamondback stuff, that all comes into play when they have a weapon that can actually take down Luke Cage. One of the plot points in it is those exploding bullets that I was talking about earlier. They basically give the police access to those. And Luke Cage, like I said, they frame him for murder and everything. So the cops are coming after him. So while the cops are coming after him, he has to take down Diamondback and take down Cottonmouth's cousin and Shades and all of them. And he has to do that at the same time that Diamondback is trying to kill him. He's just trying to straight kill him. He shot him in the stomach, shot him in the shoulder, shot him up a few times. He did all of that, and
look at that. That's what he does.
They had like, and one thing that was hilarious. They ended off with like a Rocky street fight in the street, because basically Diamondback gets this military suit that if he puts it on, it's makes him bulletproof and gives him super strength. So at the end they just have a fist fight in the street, and I really do like that because it reminded me, like I said, of, was it Rocky 4 where he fought oh wow, I can't remember his name. What's his name? Tommy Gunn, where Rocky fought Tommy Gunn. That movie where they fought in the street. It was kind of like something similar where that's how they ended. And as soon as they did that, I was like, I'm just waiting for somebody to yell out World Star. Because That's what they should have did. Because I mean, you know, hell at this point, World Star is a part of inner city black culture, and you know, anyway, with the amount of people that watch it. But by them ending it off on that kind of sort of level, I thought that was pretty good. Also, what else I thought was pretty good? They showcased Luke's powers a whole lot more than, let's say, even in Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones has super strength, right? In Jessica Jones, they didn't showcase her powers a whole lot because, like I said, she couldn't fight the Purple Man. So you had her show the powers here and there when she fought Luke Cage, but then like that was it. Whereas in Luke Cage, every time he gets into a fight, they're showcasing the powers and what he can do. And his hallway moment where he goes in and just wreck shop on Cottonmouth's people and steal his money, I thought that was great. Like they had Wu-Tang playing in the background. He put on the hoodie, just walked in there, started wrecking shop. Love that. That whole scene probably has to be like one of my favorite moments. But you know, but then again, the hallway scenes in Marvel's Netflix shows are like, you know, my favorite moments anyway. Even Daredevil's little parody of it. Not Daredevil, I'm sorry. Deadpool's parody in his movie where he had the little montage moment where they had him fighting in the hallway like Daredevil. You know, I recognize it in that they were, you know, paying an homage to that. I thought that was great too. But you had tons of great moments with the characters, with the music. The music, I'll get into that in my next video. It ties into what's going on with the characters in the show. It's kind of sort of hard to describe, but how they say in movies is where you should hear a song playing, the song should reflect what you're seeing on screen. A lot of movies and a lot of TV shows don't do that. They'll just pick a song that might work with it and then just run with it. But Luke Cage, it's like they really did take the time to think like what kind of song should be playing at this exact moment. And all of them fit. All of them. Even the scenes where, let's say, like Pops got killed, and you had they would always cut in and out of Cottonmouth's club because by him owning a club, he always had stage performers perform, and a lot of that stage music would be the ongoing songs of the show during critical moments, and I loved them for it. It was incredible the way that the music all tied in with everything. But I'll get into more of that in my next video. But story-wise, like I said, overall, it's good. They even had his origin moments in prison. They changed up his origin and certain characters dealing with his origin. I'm not all that mad at. I wish they'd have explained a little bit more things better. Reva in the comic books is a whole lot different than what she is in this. Whereas in this, it's kind of like she was the person who got to him when he was in prison and gave him hope and everything like that. And they never said what happened to her. She just died. I don't recall how. I mean, I don't recall if they ever mentioned how she died or anything like that. But she's no longer in the picture in the series. So she's only in flashbacks and things like that. But they pretty much changed her character to fit the narrative that they're trying to tell. So, like I said, I can't be mad at that. I mean, Marvel's been doing that with all of their movies. But so far, they kept the core and the character of Luke Cage pretty much the same. Not as angry as I wanted him to be, but they do have a prison segment where they make him like super angry for that prison segment. So I think that was pretty good. That was well done as well. Again, Shades was also with him in that prison. So that's why I thought Shades was going to do more as a character, but they just didn't do nothing with him, you know, like that. So, but overall, like I said, overall it's pretty good. I think the story is kind of weak in its second half, but overall it was damn good. So in the next part, we're going to be talking about music and some of the stylized choices that they chose. And it might be a little bit shorter of a video. I know the last one's 15 minutes and this one's 25, but the music one may be a little bit shorter, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, because it really isn't a lot to talk about. I can't ramble on about music besides, you know, because, you know, you got to hear it to understand it. But anyways, fellas, my name has been Denonu, the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.